My days are very long days, and as the Special Representative of the Secretary-General in the Central African Republic, I do hold two hats in the Central African Republic, as Special Representative of the Secretary-General and then head of MINUSCA, the mission MINUSCA. This implies really leading the mission on a daily basis in all its key components and to ensure that we implement the mandate that is given to us by the United Nations Security Council. That mandate is quite a wide mandate. It's a heavy mandate. It's a mandate of protection of civilians. It's a mandate of support to the Central African authorities to extend their authority over their entire territory. It is also a mandate of facilitating humanitarian access. And it is a mandate as well of protecting the UN personnel across the country, the UN personnel and property across the country. So you can see that's quite a wide and large mandate. It means that on a daily basis, I work with all these different components to ensure that we really implement this mandate optimally. It means that there is no couple of days that I'm not in close contact with our force commander to be appraised about the security situation and the challenges across the country. There is not a single few days that I'm not in touch with the police commissioner to be appraised about the police challenges across the country. And there is not a single day I'm not in touch with my deputy. I do have two deputies that assist me, two deputy secretary, representatives that assist me on a daily basis. And one of the deputies is in charge of coordinating the entire UN system that is in Central Africa and coordinating the humanitarians. So I'm also in touch with him on a daily basis, and he appraises me about the issues that the humanitarians are confronted with. Now, it's not only about, of course, it's not about being appraised about the issues. We need to respond to those issues on a daily basis. We need to anticipate on some of the movements. So that's what makes my day. But if I have to summarize, it is to ensure that we really implement optimally the mandate that is given to us. That mandate is a mandate of support to the Central African authorities and to the Central African people. We cannot support the Central African authorities and people without working with the Central Africans. So I'm also very regularly in touch with the authorities at all levels of the government. And I visit the upcountry very regularly, which is quite a challenge in itself. It is a large country without road infrastructure outside Bangui. You've seen yourself Bangui, you have been here, I believe, for a few days. It's quite challenging in terms of infrastructure. It's insufficient in Bangui, but outside Bangui, to get to really part of the country that are, for example, more than 1,000 kilometers from Bangui, there is only one way of getting there. It is by flight. So we have to use our helicopters, and even using our helicopters, we are confronted with challenges of runways that are not quite fit to receive, for helicopters of a certain size and capacity to land. So these are some of the challenges we are confronted with on a daily basis. The main challenges, I would really say, can be summarized into the main challenges have to do with access and mobility. This is a country of more than 600,000 kilometers, so it's a large country. And it's a country that is a landlocked country. It is a country that is really rich in rivers all across, but it is a country that has 8 months, between 7 and 8 months of heavy rainy season per year. And during the rainy season, even those really paths that have been put in place are simply impracticable. So those are the challenges. The challenges have to do with mobility, getting to the people. You can't protect the people if you can't access the people. So the challenges for our force, you can imagine, how does a force with APC's heavy vehicles get to those locations without roads? So we do have to use planes to even get heavy equipment there, and we can use the roads or some of the, at least create paths only during the 4 months of the dry season, because during the 4 months of the dry season, then those paths can be practicable. It is really the main thing. It's about the main part of the mandate. We do have a wide mandate, but we do have priority tasks in that wide mandate. And the priorities are protecting civilians and supporting the country to extend its authority throughout its wide territory, large territory. What does that mean in practice? It means supporting the Central African forces, security forces, to deploy in this large country of theirs, where access is inexistent. It means supporting them with logistically with planes to deploy throughout the countries. So that's what it means in practice. We have been doing that, and just to give a recent example, where the part of the Rwandan forces are deployed in the northeast of the country that is almost very close to the border with Sudan. Then that was a part where there was no presence of a regular force in the last more than 16 years. Until the moment we deployed in August 2022. And of course, our objective cannot be sustainable if it is only MINUSCA force deployed there. So we need, once MINUSCA is deployed there, to work very closely. We work very closely with the Central African Army, with the Central African Ministry of Defense, with the Ministry of Interior Security, to then deploy their own forces in those areas, because that is what will make it sustainable. A peacekeeping mission is to support, is to accompany. A peacekeeping mission can never be a substitute to what is the primary responsibility of the country, which is to secure its territory and to secure its people. Now, having said that, it's clear that it takes time. The Central African Republic has gone through a number of conflicts. So it takes time, but also it takes support, effective support. The Rwandan force are training, not only training, contributing to securing Bangui, but also training the Central African. Well, that is very much welcome. It's very much welcome, including by MINUSCA, because we don't have the mandate of training. We do not have the mandate of training the national forces, training the national forces to combat. We do not have that mandate. So it is complementary. That is a conversation that the members will have to have. It is not a conversation for me as the head of the mission. It is a conversation that the member state will have to have. What, however, is factual is that just on the 15th of November, our mandate has been renewed and extended for 1 more year. What does that mean? It means that it is the assessment of both the members of the Security Council and the government of Central Africa. It is their clear assessment that the contribution of MINUSCA to pacifying, to securing the country, to its mandate, to the protection of civilians, but also to the extension of the state authority, to also securing humanitarian access, so to supporting the implementation of the peace agreement. So there is no stronger indication that the members and the Central African authorities consider that that contribution has been palpable and that contribution is still needed and required. And their best way of expressing that it is by the extension of our mandate by 1 more year. But as I said, I think looking at, thinking about your question more specifically, one needs to look at peacekeeping cannot do everything. Peacekeeping has its own limitations. And one needs to look more specifically at the limitations of peacekeeping and then be able to leverage some bilateral partnerships where peacekeeping cannot act. I do believe that members will have to start thinking about that, but again, not my call. Indeed, and the progress, our own indicators, the progress has been clear and measurable. And the way we measure the progress is that we have seen a drastic reduction of attacks, important attacks on civilians. So we have been taking a preemptive approach and a proactive approach based on the information that we can collect. And again, the information, it is by having proximity with local communities where they live, they see the movement of the armed elements. And once they trust the forces and are enough to share that information, that allows us to react and intervene preemptively before attacks are conducted against the population. And we have seen a clear impact of that. Part of that approach has also been to rationalize what I call rationalizing the presence of the force. We had our force scattered in several small temporary operating bases, too small to really repel an important attack of armed groups. So we have been consolidating those forces, taking a much more mobile approach by closing some of these very small temporary operating bases and making sure that we reinforce other bases, but also taking a different approach by conducting more frequently long-range and short-range patrols. And that has had an impact and very much appreciated by the populations. Without a single doubt, it is appreciated by the population because the populations are the beneficiaries of those activities. It is appreciated by the population. But to be fair, we do have a number of other contingents that undertake activities, such as having medical days, where really they provide medical services to populations in the communities where they are deployed. So we do have a few other contingents that provide such activities. And it is appreciated. It is appreciated by the population. I believe that while it is appreciated, those are ad hoc activities. We need, and that is the other part of my responsibilities as a special representative of the Secretary-General, it is to make sure that we also mobilize all the agencies of the UN country team, they are doing quite a lot, but mobilize resources so that they can do much more. And even instead of having ad hoc activities, make sure that we all work together to empower the populations to conduct their activities for themselves, but also support the government at local levels by providing them with the capacity to provide medical services, to provide schooling, instead of having to depend on ad hoc activities and ad hoc interventions. The Central African population is a very resilient population. It has gone through a lot, but whenever I have the opportunity and I create those opportunities, I make it a point of creating the opportunities. Every month I undertake a visit on the field outside Bangui. And during those field visits, I interact with the populations directly with their representatives, and they are very resilient because despite all what they have gone through, despite all the recurrent conflicts, the population is still very clear and I will say ready to really contribute to making sure that there is reconciliation, even where communities have really gone through, I will say, very costly conflict humanly. They are ready to undertake reconciliation. They are demanding very little. They are demanding what they are entitled to. They are demanding security. All over, they are demanding security so that they can vacate, they can undertake their activities. They are demanding a minimum of social services, having small health centers, having schools where they can send their children ensure that their children will have a better horizon, better chances than themselves. So this is what they are demanding, is what every government owes to its people. My parting shot is that as the head of MINUSCA and the SRSG, I'm really deeply grateful to my own country, Rwanda. I'm deeply grateful to the government of Rwanda because what has been achieved in this country, what is being achieved, some of the achievements I just shared with you, achievements of Rwanda, and Rwanda should be proud of. It is the largest troop contributing countries to MINUSCA. So the achievements I have just shared with you could not have been possible without the contribution of Rwanda to MINUSCA.